This mono right here is solely about Wilfried Nancy and the historical achievement that he accomplished this past Saturday in Columbus, Ohio. I know MLS free agency starts today, or the trading starts today and free agency starts this whole week. But I'm not too excited about that because realistically, MLS teams are still extremely conservative when it comes to roster management and trading players. So I believe the players who are traded are going to be guys who a lot of us rarely know. It's going to be guys who only like local fans. They know who the person is, but it's not going to be guys who make headlines. It's not going to be big name players. It's not. I don't think MLS trading is going to be. I don't think MLS free agency and the trading is going to be similar to NBA free agency, NFL free agency, the college football, the college basketball transfer portal. I just don't think MLS offseason is going to be like that. Because number one, you still have this perception where a lot of teams believe that you have to get a DP that plays in a European league. And you can't find up and coming rising talent here in the States. But I'm going to talk more about that later this week. Either later this week or next week. I'm going to just watch and see what happens. I'm going to see if the free agency and this whole trading window this week, I'm going to see if anything interesting happens. I'm going to see if any like noticeable, recognizable names get traded instead of guys who most people don't really know. Like the St. Louis DC United trade. I mean, honestly, that was my first time ever hearing of those two guys. And quite honestly, I'm not the type of soccer follower that knows every single guy. I'm just not that type of expert. The players who largely stand out the most to me are the great skillful guys on offense who can score and can pass well, and the really good defenders who have speed and that's really aggressive. But that's just me, my view of soccer in general, because me personally, I am not a soccer purist and I'm not a diehard soccer fan. My interest in the sport I want to see the sport in America to become better and to become more exciting than what it is right now. It's getting there, but it's just a lot of work to do because you still have to abide by FIFA rules and age-old laws that have been in place for so many years that favors defense and prevents teams from really being creative. This is just my opinion. You see, one thing that causes basketball and gridiron football to be more exciting than soccer is this: guys don't have to score in the game for there to be exciting moments. There's a lot of non-scoring events that take place in an NFL and an NBA game that causes it to be more exciting than not only MLS, but also the English Premier League and La Liga, and it's just soccer in general. Nice passes, nice tackles, juking the defender, crossing over the defender, outrunning the defender, making nice catches, making nice interceptions, nice athletic passes. Nikola Jokic, the type of passes he made. Steph Curry. We already know about the athleticism of LeBron James. So those of you soccer fans that are still up in arms about why Americans get more excited about NFL and NBA than any soccer in general. That's why. There's a lot. Excitement is not only relied on scoring. Because in reality, in a sport, especially in a sport like soccer, you're not going to get... Teams are not going to score all the time unless it's basketball. Now, basketball, automatically teams score all the time. But in football in general, teams are not going to score all the time. Therefore, there needs to be other events that take place during the game that gets people excited instead of people just waiting for somebody to finally score. And then the excitement dies down after the score. So that's just something to keep in mind. But continuing on this topic of excitement, what Wilfried Nancy did on Saturday, that was very exciting. Wilfried Nancy's crew was more tactical. They're the better team tactically. They're the better team athletically. And just overall football wise, Wilfried Nancy's team was better from the front office to the coaching staff to the players. The Columbus Crew was the better team. And what makes this win even more exciting is Wilfried Nancy entering a prestigious group that many people want to enter, but they're not able to enter. Why? Because they're just not good enough. And that's just the reality. They're just not good enough. And entering in this prestigious group is not only about skill. It's also about your demeanor, your personality, the way you live. How do you carry yourself? Who do you network with? How do you develop relationships with people? Are you a respectable person? Do you have manners? Are you not short-tempered? Are you not easily offended? Are you not complaining and whining about something every day? Or are you a go-getter? Are you determined? Do you believe in yourself? And do you not have a mindset that somebody is holding you down? Are you accountable when you look yourself in the mirror? Do you ask yourself, what did I do today to better myself? Instead of laying the blame on somebody else. Because when you constantly laying the blame on somebody else, you give that other person more power. You weaken yourself. You weaken your abilities when you're always blaming your problems on somebody else. These group of people that's part of this club, they far exceeded expectation. And they exemplified the traits of being a go-getter and not allowing anybody to hold them down, not placing blame on anybody else for their failures, but learning from their mistakes and correcting it and being as great as they are. In this club, I call is the First Black Club, a group of Black individuals who have been the first black person to accomplish a major feat, whether that's in sports, whether that's in politics, whether that's in science, whether that's in healthcare, whether that's in military. You see, the First Black Club is not only limited to sports. That's why you see this picture right here. You don't only see athletic figures, athletic people. It's a universal group of Black Americans that went above and beyond and far exceeded expectations. But for the sake of sports, I'll just stick to sports because we're talking about Wilfried Nancy. Wilfried Nancy joins an elite group of individuals who beat the odds. An elite group of individuals who don't have this same kind of mindset of the new generation that just wants to lay blame on people instead of looking themselves in the mirror and asking, okay, what did I need to do to make myself a better person today? Instead of going on social media and trying to point fingers at this troll account. Pointing fingers at this stranger who I never seen and never met before. Blaming all my problems on that person. Letting a whole bunch of strangers affect the outcome of my life and my future. Wilfried Nancy don't have that kind of mindset. Tony Dungy never had that kind of mindset. Bill Russell, Cito Gaston didn't have that kind of mindset. All of these guys took advantage of the opportunities that was given to them. And they didn't allow anybody to stop them from pursuing greatness. You heard what Wilfried Nancy said on Saturday. He said, impossible is an option. Which means if you allow somebody to tell you that you can't do it, if you accept that, you already lost. If the first thing you do is run to social media when somebody makes you angry and start crying about racism, you already lost. Because that's what the enemy wants you to do. The enemy will find all kinds of ways to weaken you. And once the enemy sees that you're crying about something on social media, to a bunch of strangers that you never met before, you already lost. Not one time did I hear about Wilfried Nancy complaining about racism when he parted ways with Montreal. Not one time did I hear about Wilfried Nancy getting ready to sue Major League Soccer for wrongful termination or mistreatment in the league because of what happened in Montreal. And I'm assuming that either he and the owner or he and the front office, they all just didn't get along together. But we see what happened in Montreal after he left. Montreal's a mess. And I don't even know who's going to be the next coach of Montreal. And I think it's okay to start asking, what's the future of Montreal? Is Montreal still going to be in MLS? It just looks like an unstable organization. Not one time. Whatever went wrong in Montreal, Nancy learned from his mistakes. He quietly entered Columbus, not with a big personality, not with a big mouth, but he just entered as a man, determined to show that Montreal made a big mistake in parting ways with him. And today, Wilfried Nancy enters a prestigious group, and that's the first Black club. And for sports to stay sports-centered, even though it's a universal club, is the first Black person to accomplish a major feat, like to make history in a predominantly white industry, basically. But for sports purpose, the first Black coach or player to do something that no other Black person has ever done before in sports. Wilfried Nancy is the first Black man to ever win an MLS Cup title as a head coach. It doesn't matter if he's from France. It doesn't matter if his parents are African. It doesn't matter if Wilfried Nancy is not an American citizen. It doesn't matter. He's an American employee. And as an American, a legal American employee, he qualifies to be part of this group. He was hired by a legitimate American business. He is a legitimate American employee. Therefore, he is more than qualified. And the amount of work he put in, it speaks for himself. Wilfried Nancy is the Tony Dungy of American soccer. Not only Major League Soccer, but American soccer. Wilfried Nancy and Tony Dungy, they have similar personalities. The way they talk, the way they carry themselves, the way they don't try to promote themselves and make it all about them, but they always point towards the team. It's the team. They know there's no I in team. They know they can't do it themselves, but it's a collective effort of individuals working together. And what makes a coach great? Coaches that win championships, they speak little about themselves. championship-minded coaches speak little about themselves. And they don't make it all about themselves. They don't give their little opinions about every little thing that they like or don't like or change that they want to see. They don't do that all the time. Only when it's necessary. Only when it's necessary. And still, then when they express their personal opinion, they still find some way to keep the focus on the team. I mean, you saw that interview, the post-game interview on Apple TV, Wilfried Nancy and Miss Katie with them. Nancy barely wanted to talk. Nancy barely wanted to speak in front of the camera. He just wanted to go and celebrate with his team. Because Nancy knows that even though he is really good, he doesn't have low self-esteem. We know he does not have low self-esteem, but he knows that without the team, without the group, he wouldn't be as successful as he is today. That's great leadership right there. Tony Dungy was the same way. It was always about the team. Now, I don't know much about Bill Russell and Cito Gaston, so I can't talk much about them. But there's no doubt in my mind that they have similar traits as Tony Dungy and Wilfried Nancy. Because nobody can accomplish this type of feat without having a selfless trait and being able to galvanize the group and to make it about the team. Not about yourself, but about the team. You know, I think about that game from start to finish. And throughout this whole entire playoffs in general, for Columbus, it was always about each other. Even your biggest star, Cucho Hernandez. He never came across as a guy who had a big personality. I never heard Cucho Hernandez saying, well, you know, there's a lot of European teams coming after me. I'm going to go back to Europe if things doesn't work out. Compare that to LAFC's biggest star, Denny Bowenga. As soon as the game ended, he's speaking to the media. He's already talking about the possibility of him going back to Europe. And I'm thinking, well, you can't at least wait until 24 hours, let the fans digest the loss before you start talking about that? Your fans just witnessed you lose a major national title. And as soon as you start talking to the media, you're talking about going back to Europe. You see, that's not the only issue I have with LAFC, but throughout the whole entire playoffs, guys complaining about playing too many games. Coach talking about playing too many games. All season long, finding something to complain about. Columbus, never that. Columbus strapped their bootstraps, stepped on that field, and took care of business. And that's why the right team won the MLS Cup title this Saturday. The team that was supposed to win, they won it. The right team. The championship-minded team won it. And that's why you have a championship-minded coach that made history. So with that being said, the world needs to get to know Wilfried Nancy. Because a lot of people still don't know who he is. So if I'm you, MLS, this winter, because I know the off season is fairly short, the regular season may start again, either late February or the middle of February. Assuming, I could be wrong, but I strongly believe it's gonna be in February with the preseason starting in January. So it's gonna be a very short off season. So Wilfried Nancy won't have much time to really talk to a lot of people. So it's gonna have to be very soon and fast. But we have to see Wilfried Nancy on a couple media shows. Because the world, at least the nation in general, the nation, let's start with America first. The nation needs to get to know Wilfried Nancy. And the first popular show I would like to see him on will be the Just Kicking It show with Kate Abdo and Henry and oh man, I can't remember everybody's name from the top of my head. But the new show on CBS Sports Galazzo, CBS Sports Galazzo, the Just Kicking It show that comes on Paramount Plus. I would like to see that'll be a good show for Wilfried Nancy, for them to just spend an entire episode talking to Wilfried Nancy and giving him an opportunity to just tell the nation about himself. A lot of us don't know who he is, and a lot of us want to get to know who he is. Who is Wilfried Nancy? And what makes him so great as he is without being popular? Wilfried Nancy proves that you can become great without being popular. You can become great without having a big personality. That's what Wilfried Nancy showed us. That's what he's showing us. So that's the first show. I would like, before any other popular show, I would like for him to, I want to see him on the CBS Galazzo, Paramount Plus, the Just Kicking It show with Kate Abdo and Charlie Davies. The next, another show I'd like to see him on, Good Morning America. Yes, Good Morning America. Wilfried Nancy is the first black coach to ever win an MLS Cup title. That is the highest achievement in American club soccer history. That is the highest achievement in American domestic club soccer league history. It's the highest achievement. MLS is the highest level. And yes, sorry, USL fans. I know you don't like to hear this, but it is what it is. An MLS Cup championship is the highest achievement in domestic club soccer here in America. Wilfried Nancy was the first black man to ever do it. That's worthy of a segment on Good Morning America. With the type of personality Wilfried Nancy has, America needs to get to know Wilfried Nancy because a lot of people can learn from him and emulate his traits. If you love Tony Dungy, you will love Wilfried Nancy. Another show I would love to see him on will be the Stephen A. Smith Show. Not ESPN First Take, but the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube. Because with the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube, Stephen and Wilfried can be a little more authentic. And the time won't be rushed. But this also depends on how much interest Stephen would have. We know he's not a big fan of soccer, but he is a big fan of black men succeeding in America, especially in sports. That's how I think the two of them will gel on that show. Just a decent 30-minute segment on the Stephen A. Smith Show. I would love to see that. Another show I'd love to see Wilfried Nancy on. Vlad TV. Yes, Vlad TV. Now, a lot of you think that Vlad TV only interviews hip-hop artists and gangster rappers. That is not true. And if you think that, you don't watch enough Vlad TV interviews. He interviews bankers, he interviews economics, people who works in the economic systems, the federal banks. He interviews people that have connections to political figures. It's not only gang members and rappers and strippers that he interviews. It's far from the truth. It's not true. A Wilfried Nancy Vlad TV interview, it will help promote the brand of MLS. It will help people become more noticeable. MLS become more noticeable to your largest fan base, which is Gen Zs and Millennials. And a lot of Gen Zs and Millennials, they watch Vlad TV. So they'll just continue to improve the MLS brand, besides the nation getting to know Wilfried Nancy. Another show that'll be nice to see Wilfried Nancy on. The Roland Martin Show. Now, I know he's a political pundit who tends to be one-sided, but he's still a guy that wants to see black men succeed in America. Similar to Stephen A. Smith. That's why I think this will work. MLS, this is history. This is not some ordinary MLS Cup championship. This is not like the past 2 seasons. This is history. MLS, you are in the record books forever. With Wilfried Nancy winning this MLS Cup title, MLS, you are in American history forever. So you have to realize that. So yes, we need to see Wilfried Nancy on multiple shows so the nation can get to know him, and for you to continue to remind this nation that there's not only 4 major professional leagues. There's 5 major professional leagues. And this monumental year that you had with Apple TV and Lionel Messi, and ending it with Wilfried Nancy. This was the best way to end this historical season. MLS has been covered by multiple media outlets more than ever. This Wilfried Nancy achievement is going to continue. It's going to carry over into 2026. It is going to carry over into 2026. Because being the first black man to accomplish something in America that few black men had the opportunity to do, that is big. And that is unforgettable. And the league that helped you make it happen will be unforgettable. Look at Jackie Robinson. People still talk and think about the Dodgers because of what they did for Jackie Robinson. Look at the Atlanta Braves. People still think and talk about the Atlanta Braves for what they did for Hank Aaron. The Boston Celtics with Bill Russell. The Lakers with Magic Johnson. Got the Columbus Crew in Major League Soccer for what they did for Wilfried Nancy. So yes, Columbus Crew, you're in the record books too. because you are the team that Wilfried Nancy worked for. You are the team that gave Wilfried Nancy the chance. So you, Columbus Crew, are in the record books forever. You are part of history forever. Just like the LA Dodgers with Jackie Robinson, the Atlanta Braves with Hank Aaron, Toronto Blue Jays with Cito Gaston, Bill Russell with the Boston Celtics, Tony Dungy with the Indianapolis Colts. You're in the record books with those prestigious franchises, Columbus Crew. So now, you're automatically one of the big faces of MLS now. You're up there with the Seattle Sounders, of course, LA Galaxy, DC United. This is a prestigious achievement. The first black coach to win an MLS Cup title was part of the Columbus Crew organization. You're not only part of MLS history now, you're already part of MLS history. You are now an icon for American soccer history, paving the way for black coaches to succeed. When people think about black coaches being successful in American soccer, the first club they'll always mention will be the Columbus Crew. Because forever, for the rest of our lives, we'll always know that the Columbus Crew was the first club where a black man won a major league title, where a black man won an MLS Cup title, the highest achievement in American club soccer, the highest level in American domestic league soccer. So that's something you can never forget, Columbus Crew. And I'll close on this. Thank you, Columbus Crew, for what you did for Wilfried Nancy. Thank you, Columbus Crew, for your tenacity. Thank you, Columbus Crew, for not being cheap. Thank you, Columbus Crew, for being aggressive. Because we're living in an era where we're in a crossroads. You got a large group of MLS teams that still want to be cheap, and you have a lot of people that's still promoting that cheapness. Let's just get a few average players, and we'll just focus on our farm system, and we'll develop those guys for them to be sold to Europe, and we'll make that money for selling the players to Europe, and we'll just be a farm system for European teams. You know, New York Red Bulls, Philadelphia Union, teams with no stars. But you, Columbus Crew, you have been challenging the status quo along with LAFC and Miami. You have been working under the radar. LAFC and Miami have been getting the publicity, but you have been just as aggressive challenging the status quo as them. Thank you, Columbus Crew, for challenging the status quo. And thank you for giving Wilfried Nancy a chance to show the nation and the world as a whole that he is a legitimate great soccer coach.